Greetings. The greatest gift is love for humanity and loving thy neighbor as thyself. Today we said we're going to do a video on uterine fibroids, ovarian cyst, and PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And we're going to try to educate our women and what caused them, you women, to have all these troubles in the reproductive system. Right? But first we're going to look at the endocrine system, because that's where all these troubles start in a woman's reproductive system, in the endocrine system. What is the endocrine system? The endocrine system is a bunch of glands that helps or produce hormones. And all hormones are messengers that need a receptor to receive the messages of the hormones. The first gland we will talk about today that affects lots of women is the pituitary gland in the brain. Right? We're going to talk about that gland. The gland is located up over the nose, in the cavity of the nose, and that gland is so significant that if you know how significant this gland is, you would learn to take care of that particular gland. All right? That's a pituitary gland. Now, you're looking at the thyroid gland, the thymus gland, the adrenal glands on top of your kidneys. You see a kidney shaped like a kidney bean, and you're looking at the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, and the woman's uterus. Right? That is what we call part of the endocrine system. All the glands are, that we just mentioned a while ago. Especially the one in your brain, called the pituitary gland. Right? Wonderful. Now, the pituitary gland receives a signal from the hypothalamus gland. And once the pituitary gland receives that signal is to do what? To regulate a woman's LH, luteinizing hormone, and FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. Once these two are in balance, a woman's period will come every month. Once these two are in balance, a woman not supposed to get growths in the uterus or in the ovaries. And we're going to tell you why you get growths there. The pituitary gland releases at least 8 hormones, and it controls and regulates and secretes hormones to the thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the liver, and it secretes or helps the secretion of hormones in your pancreas, insulin that is. That's how important the pituitary gland is, the one in your brain. That's the anterior part of the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland have another function of the anterior part of the gland, or the posterior part of the gland, which regulates your temperature and your water balance. That's how important the gland is. If you're living in a hot climate, your pores open, and the pituitary gland have your kidneys to regulate water balance properly. If you're living in a colder climate and the pores is closed, the kidneys have to work extra hard because the pituitary gland helps to secrete or regulate the temperature and your water balance in the blood. So your pituitary gland is very significant in a woman's reproductive system. It keeps you well. If a woman have a certain amount of synthetic hormones that is produced by man, not God, synthetic hormone, man-made estrogen, stacks up against a woman. The man-made estrogen causes a woman to have not only growths in the uterus, but also contributes to breast cancer. When we in herbal medicine is attacking fibroids, ovarian cysts, and PCOS, we look at a woman's diet, because 80% of these diseases or even cancers come from diet. So we look at the diet. But first we're going to look at some herbs that we use to help a woman's reproductive system and help the woman to shrink the fibroids, shrink the ovarian cysts, and get rid of PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. We're in the clinic today. All the herbs are there. Yeah, all right. The first herb we use is the herb called chaste tree, Vitex. God is great. And chaste tree works via your pituitary gland. And it helps the pituitary gland to regulate both your luteinizing hormone, LH that is, and your FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, which in turn balances back both your progesterone and your estrogen levels. So you could have a balance of both hormones, so your fibroids don't feed on estrogen, because that's what fibroids feed on. And don't forget, fibroids are muscles, tissues, and blood. That's the first herb we use to regulate a woman's hormones. Second herb, Dunqui. Dunqui deals with uterine circulation. And if you don't have good circulation, you will have stagnation of the blood. And once you have stagnation of the blood, you're going to have growths. Because if you look at the bloodstream moves so quick that if you look at it, you get dizzy because it moves so fast. Once you slow it up, you're going to have growths anywhere in the body. So Dunqui helps with uterine circulation, but also increases circulation and excretion of estrogen via your liver and your bowels. And it builds the blood. So we must use these herbs when you have fibroids and ovarian cysts, because it shrinks the cyst and it moves the blood. Second herb. Third herb we use in the formula called uterine tonic is saw palmetto. Lots of people say saw palmetto is a man herb. It's for men. That's not true. Saw palmetto is good for women too. Make your breast get bigger. It also works in your lungs. It also increases the immunity of the immune system. But it helps to prevent the enzyme called 5-alpha reductase from converting testosterone into high dihydrotestosterone, which causes a man to get prostate cancer. But it slows up the growth of fibroids. And it inhibits polycystic ovarian syndrome. And once it inhibits that, it inhibits ovarian pain in the ovaries, and congestion of the pelvis. Saw palmetto does that. It's not only a herb for men, it's also a herb for women. Next herb, shepherd's purse. And shepherd's purse is a herb that's been used for centuries by all the early herbalists now. And if a woman has uterine fibroids and she has bleeding, what we call menorrhagia in the medical term, we use shepherd's purse to stop the bleeding. But shepherd's purse was used by ancient herbalists to shrink tumors if they're big, if they're there. So although shepherd's purse stopped the bleeding, if a woman had menorrhagia, it also helped to shrink the tumors of fibroids in a woman's uterus. Next herb. Next herb called Peony Root. And Peony Root prevents liver quick, liver stagnation. And Peony Root also builds the blood. But Peony Root also prevents fibroids from growing, and also good for what we call pain, pelvic pain, pain in the ovaries, pain when you're having menstrual cycles. But it is used for fibroids. Next herb, cinnamon bark, spice we call it in the Caribbean. This herb is both antiviral, antibacterial, and it deals with proper circulation, but it increases circulation in the uterus, and it is used for what we call passive bleeding. So when a woman has fibroids and she's bleeding, we use cinnamon in the mix while we're shrinking the fibroids and the ovarian cyst. Cypress root, physiological pain in the ovaries. When a woman has fibroids and have a lot of pain and she don't move nothing, we use cypress root. And cypress root also works on your liver to help with liver stagnation, because your liver manufactures estrogen, breaks it down into the least estrogen called estriol, least effective one that is, and excretes it. We have to help the liver, because to me it is one of the most, if not the most important organ in the body, because it has over 500 functions. So liver health is very important in shrinking fibroids. Next herb, red raspberry leaf. Anytime a woman becomes pregnant, she must use this herb. It tonifies the uterus. It strengthens the uterus. It prevents miscarriages. But it also helps a woman's reproductive system to be balanced. Red raspberry leaves does that. Next herb, stinging nettle. Stinging nettle, found in the whole of the Caribbean. We call it zooty. The leaf of the stinging nettle have lots of minerals, potassium, boron, iron, calcium, but it is a calcium sparing or potassium sparing diuretic, meaning that if a woman is having trouble with fibroids and it is pressing against her bladder, we use these herbs to make her move the urine out properly. Plus it builds the blood because there's iron and boron. And boron guides calcium in your bones. See? God is great. Don't forget, God is great. Next herb, red clover. Red clover have shrinking ability and anti-tumor activity. Follow. It have isoflavones. And if a woman have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, we use red clover there. And we're going to tell you why you're getting PCOS in the first place. And it works on the lymphatic system, it works on the skin, but it shrinks things. So it shrinks your fibroids. Poriaco, plant found in Brazil. Lots of doctors using this plant for cancer treatment now. Antifungal herb. When you have yeast infections, it works there too. But it shrinks things. So once we are using a formula to remove or shrink the fibroids, we must put Poriaco in the mix. Chaparral. Now in herbal medicine, you have three categories of herbs. You have the food herbs, you have the herbs we use for medicinal purposes, and we have the poisons. Now chaparral have some alkaloids, like comfrey does, that cause venereal-occlusive disease. So we have to look at using this herb with caution. But you have to be trained in herbal medicine to use this herb. But it shrinks things. It shrinks cancer tumors. It shrinks ovarian cysts. It shrinks uterine fibroids. See? But it has to be used with caution. Next herb, black haw. Black haw is what we call a antispasmodic herb, good for women who have period pain, but who have ovarian pain. It prevents miscarriages, but it is one of the best herbs to use with magnesium when a woman is having what we call dysmenorrhea, period pain. Amenorrhea, absence of menstruation. Dysmenorrhea, period pain. Menorrhagia, too much bleeding. But this herb stops the pain in the ovaries, used with magnesium. And it stops period pain also. Black haw. and it prevents miscarriages. Now, when a woman has fibroids, her diet must change. And we put her on a few juices that helps the pituitary gland in the brain. And the juices that helps the pituitary gland, first one is beets. And beets have choline, and it helps your liver. It has 5% iron, 15% magnesium, but it works on the pituitary gland to regulate the balance of the pituitary gland. Beets does that. Second vegetable, cucumbers, lots of silica, helps in the juice form mixed with beets to regulate the pituitary gland. Cucumber does that. Next one, celery, mixed with beets and cucumbers, works on the pituitary gland, balances back the pituitary gland, because everything is in balance. The earth is in balance. The moon is in balance. The moon is in balance. The sun is in balance. The stars are in balance. You have to be balanced. 2, parsley. Too much parsley could disarray the nervous system if you use it regularly alone. But when you use parsley with beets and celery and cucumber, it helps to not only regulate the pituitary gland, but it works on your kidneys and the adrenal glands. Right? Now we talk about the herbs. Let's talk about PCOS, because ovarian cysts and uterine fibroids come from the same source. PCOS come from a similar source, which is the gland in your brain, the pituitary gland. When the gland in your brain, called the pituitary gland, do not regulate or do not receive the signal from the hypothalamus gland, the one on top of it, the pituitary gland can never ever make or balance back your luteinizing hormone and your follicle stimulating hormone. You know what happens to the woman? Once the pituitary gland can regulate LH and FSH, a woman's ovaries start to produce androgens. Androgen from the ovaries. And once you produce androgen, some of the male hormones, you start to grow beard. And then you start to have follicles on your ovaries. Doctors give you metformin for that. It's a drug for diabetes. That don't fix nothing. That don't balance back your system. The regular doctor doesn't even know how your endocrine system works. You have to be trained like Dr. Sebastian Peters, who is trained in the endocrine system, which we will have soon on a video teaching women how to take care of the endocrine system. So he give you metformin. Metformin don't fix your endocrine system. You have to go and use herbs to balance back the pituitary gland, which in turn balances back your LH and FSH like that. And then your ovaries now will start to produce the right thing, your progesterone, not the androgens, that cause you to have PCOS. Balance is the key. When God created you and me, the Creator, the Most High, He put natural estrogen in women. So all the people who want to blame God for all the garbage stuff happening today, you don't blame Him. You blame the man. Mankind does that. Man put excessive amount of estrogen in your meat, your chicken, your egg, your cheese, your milk, and your water, and your plastic bowls, plastic cups. That's what he does. So when you as a woman eat all these foods with pesticide, herbicide, hormones, antibiotics, it stacks up against you. So it takes over the function of your natural estrogen that God produces. And it overtakes or steals the combination lock to your receptors and cause your tissues or your cells to multiply to the line in which you get breast cancer, you get ovarian cyst, or you get uterine fibroids. They don't tell you that. That's what they put in your foods. So the estrogen that man produces is the one that's killing you. In the same meat that you love, in the same chicken that you love, in the same cheese that you love, in the same water and plastic bowls that you put your food in and put it in the microwave ovens. These things cannot be tolerated once you are trying to shrink your fibroids. You have to use foods that is organically grown. And then your diet is supposed to be some with beans and legumes. You understand? Phytoestrogen. not man-made estrogen. Phyto means plant. So if you have phytoestrogen flowing in your body and there is an excessive amount, your liver excretes it properly. If you have the man-made estrogen flowing around in your system, your liver don't excrete it. Secondly, if you have fibroids and you're constipated, you will have problems. You can never ever be constipated when you have fibroids. You have to have a high fiber diet. Because once you're constipated, you have what we call recycling estrogen flowing back into the portal vessel, your liver, and getting back into the reproductive system and causing your fibroids to grow. And that's why the doctor said to you, when you pass 50, fibroid shrinks because you're going through menopause. Estrogen is not being released or produced. And when you're under 50, you have estrogen dominance, as Dr. John Lee called it. Estrogen dominance. Get that book. All women should have it. What your doctor do not tell you about breast cancer. Get that book by Dr. John Lee. It will teach you a lot of things about your reproductive system. You understand? So, we taught you today now how you should take care of your reproductive system by the food you eat and the lifestyle you live. You understand? Because God put a uterus in woman to last you all forever. He never meant for you, woman, who is the cradle of civilization, to lose your uterus to surgery. He never meant for that. He put you on a special diet in the Garden of Eden, a vegetarian diet. But man came and man destroyed the foundation of that diet that Jehovah God created for us. And he destroyed your reproductive system in the process and tell you, when you have all these growths, just pull it out, stick it out. You understand? You have to do that. You could save your uterus or your womb if you know how to take care of it. And we taught you that today. You understand? God is great. Now, in my medicine, if there is a fibroid, and the fibroid is more than 6 centimeters, it's big, I treat it with herbs, but I look for another product. Right over here. Angioblock. If your fibroids is more than 6 centimeters, get this product. It's made by some doctors, some wonderful doctors who don't deal, they're open-minded. You understand? They don't deal with just drugs alone. They deal with nature, because all the cures are found in nature. And this product here, if the fibroid is big, we give it to patients who have cancer, tumors, and what it does, hit angioblock, is prevent angiogenesis. When your cancer cells is producing blood vessels to feed, to grow, this here shrinks them because it prevents the cancer tumors from creating blood vessels. They don't tell you these things about natural products. Next one. Pro greens. Once you have fibroids and ovarian cysts, you got to go to the greens. You got to go to chlorella. You got to go to wheatgrass. You got to go to spirulina. You have to go to all the probiotics in here. That makes you go to the bathroom every day to move the excessive amount of estrogen from your body. That's what you have to do. You can't eat no meat and cheese and chicken and eggs that have all the hormones that kill in your system and make you have fibroids. You can't use them unless they're organically grown. If you love to eat them though. See? Those are the things we use. Natural treatment. Yeah? Now before we go, we said that all the organs in your body, all of them, stomach is the earth, liver is wood, kidney is water, and the heart is fire. We're going to teach you today how the organs work in sync. Your kidneys is water, and your heart is what? Fire. See, that's your heart right here. Right? Now, guess what out fire? Look at it right here. Your kidney is water, your heart is fire. What out fire? Water. See? Water out fire. So your kidneys control your heart. And your heart control your kidneys. So if you have troubles in your kidneys, you will have troubles in your heart. Common sense. You see? Because one is water, one is fire. We're going to teach you these things day by day. Yeah? Next video will be on Wednesday on breast cancer. And we're going to teach you on the heart and the lungs and how they control each other. Until, blessed love. And don't forget, the greatest love of all is the love for humanity. And don't forget to love your neighbor as yourself. Because if you love your neighbor, you won't covet him. If you love your neighbor, you wouldn't rob him. If you love your neighbor, you won't steal from him and kill him. And do all the wrong thing you do to your neighbor every day. That's the key. Blessed love. Have a beautiful day in the name of the Lord. Peace.